Because of his strength and size, as well as his personality, Larry Camp is perfectly suited for the anchorman role, and his steadiness is all important to the agile acrobatics of his partners, Nucci Catarzi and Brent Pichard. The poise and style that these three young men show in the flying act obviously carries over into all the other acts they participate in. While Circus is definitely an avocation with them, their performances could not be more professional. Among the other ground acts that pleased the Greek spectators were the bicycle act, in which three pretty girls and a lone male demonstrate that a bicycle can be built for four, and a juggling act featuring George Miller and Dave Brown. George Miller is a high IQ mathematics major and is generally acknowledged to be the brain of the circus troupe, while his taller partner, Dave Brown, has an extrovert personality and a rubbery face that make him the clown of the group, both on and off stage. The girls in the bicycle act are Angela Seymour, Judy Bigelow, and Dale Dunsmore. And the young man surrounded by and occasionally overburdened with all the femininity is Charlie Park. After their juggling stint, Dave Brown and George Miller team up again, this time as high stilt walkers, and they are billed naturally as two young men trying to get up in the world. But because of the restricted area they have to work in, they spend most of the act trying to get through, around, over, or under the rigging line. State Circus Clown Act was a big hit in every country on the tour. Brent Pichard, as a vociferous hot dog vendor, starts it off in the stand. A customer for the world's longest and least appetizing-looking hot dog is finally found. But there seems to be some trouble about the price, as well as the flavor. The dramatic proceedings in the clown skit owe more to the Marx Brothers than Noel Coward. The customer seems to have something more than mild stomach distress after a few bites of the hot dog. And a doctor is called. The case is serious enough to require a nurse, complete with operating table. Dr. Catarzi's zeal obviously exceeds his competence. MD, in this instance, stands for Mad Doctor. The nurse seems to have very little interest in her professional duties. The suffering patient is subjected to further indignities. Even in his agony, he's justifiably skeptical of the physician. Dr. Catarzi calls for an anesthetic. A very old, well-worn shoe will do the knockout job. This is a case that would baffle the finest medical minds, such as Casey or Kildare, but not Catarzi. During the course of the delicate operation, the doctor removes a very large wrench and a length of change. In spite of the fact that he is bitten in the course of his surgical explorations, fearless physician proceeds to remove a very lively object that seems to be a hostile tapeworm. And a mighty struggle ensues. The plot thickens to almost total obscurity at this point, but the denouement is not far off. Punchline to this gripping drama, the doctor finds a dog, a hot dog. Get it? It may not be art, and the AMA has conspicuously withheld its endorsement. But it was fun for audience and players alike. Setting up the cradle and all other equipment for the three-lane breakaway. The most difficult trick in the act is the three-man hang, and it's hardest on the middleman, Don Johnston, who does a back lever while holding a spinning girl in his teeth. net is dropped to the concrete floor for the final trick, the breakaway. It's a long way down.
Sometimes it can be an awfully lonely feeling up high, even though there are two people with you. It's real strange. There's so much open air around you. I really don't know what it is. But just every now and then, even now, sometimes you'll go up, and you won't really be afraid, but you just won't feel as certain as you do at other times.
Janie Lane, Don Johnston, and Fred Hoover. Next on the program, the High Wire Act. Featured in the excellent High Wire Act are Dale Dunsmore, Bobby Gay, and Jack of many circus trades, Larry Kent.
We have 3 people in our wire walking act, 2 boys and 1 girl. The girl, Dale Dunsmore from Sarasota, has had some experience in circus in the high school in Sarasota.
I really don't think it's hard. If the wire's rigged right, it's just like walking on a sidewalk. I don't know. I guess I've been walking it so long.
I think the most difficult thing to learn about walking a high wire is the psychological hazard that exists.
Everything they say about psychological fear about high wire is true. I know our practice wire is approximately 7 feet high. And the first time I did a 2 high with Bobby, I was scared. I've fallen out of that trick once, but it was only 7 feet high. When I got up there and saw, you know, the net and that marble floor, I was scared out of my mind.
One of the boys on the wire act, Bobby Gay, walked wire for me in the high school circus in Sarasota, and he's sort of like the Rock of Gibraltar on the high wire. You just don't shake Bobby loose.
And he talked to me all the way across. You know, I kept saying, I'm going to fall, I'm going to fall. But he talked me out of it.
Many people have asked us about the hazardous nature of the circus activity, and our experience has shown us that it's no more hazardous than an intramural program in sports activities. No one has ever been hurt to the point that they were classified as being in critical condition. We've had a few broken bones, very few, but nothing of any great hazardous nature to the performer. I couldn't say that there's any one thing that I have to do to cause these students to overcome a fear. The only thing that I try and tell them is that if they're going to work in circus with me as their coach, that they've got to have faith in what I tell them to do. And if I ask them to do a trick or try a trick, they must have faith that I'm not asking them to do something that they can't do or that would cause them any bodily harm.
The High Wire Act got off to a bad start on the tour. Because of the marble floor of the plaza in Barcelona, the high wire poles could not be firmly mounted, and as a consequence, the wire had a good deal of slack in it. Dale, Bobby, and Larry went through one very shaky performance. one they won't forget for a while. And then the act was dropped for the rest of the tour until the circus reached the stadium in Athens, where the rigging could be set up properly.
Believe that the flying return act which we have right now is as good as any in the world anywhere. We're doing as many or more good tricks than any flying act I know of. Brent Bichard is one of the cleanest leapers I've ever seen. He can really sell an act. When he finishes a trick and mounts the board, if he can't make an audience applaud, we might as well pack up and go home. The girl in the routine, Dorothy Gilmore, is one of 2 or 3 women in the world that does a double somersault. And really, this is quite extraordinary to find an amateur that's doing a trick that's done only by 1 or 2 other women in the world. Catarzi is a screwball. In high school, when I had him working in the high school show down there, we called him Nervous Nucci. He is one of the finest leapers in the flying act business anywhere, there's no doubt about it. And anybody who has accomplished a triple somersault has got to have a lot of perseverance and a lot of courage.
Now it's time for Nucci Catarzi's triple. He missed it in the 2 previous performances. The last act of the last show of the tour. And it's a happy, relieved group of flyers that drop to the net. Catcher Larry Kent. Dorothy Gilmore. And finally, Brett Bouchard, the justly famed flying act of the Florida State Flying High Circus. Although it was hectic and tiring at times, the European tour was an exciting and memorable experience for the 28 student circus performers. For a long time, they'll be talking about the time they visited Fort Montjuic, overlooking the city and harbor of Barcelona. The strange feeling of performing in the middle of a city, and that last rainy performance in Spain. The food and customs may have been strange, and the Riviera may have reminded them a little of Miami Beach. But the culture shocks were mainly pleasant ones. The thrill of performing in Fiesole, in the ancient Roman amphitheater, which was built 100 years before Christ, made any previous history lesson pale in comparison. They'll remember the wonderful audiences and the fact that the shows got such warm and appreciative receptions in 4 different countries. And on that last day in Greece, the hand balancers imagined they could hear the ghostly applause of another audience, 2,000 years old.
The goddess worshipped in this temple in the antiquity, according to the mythology, I said, she had never married. And so this is the temple of the virgin goddess Athene. This temple has, naturally, the classical divisions and the classical dimensions.
It has been quite a trip for these youngsters, their coaches, and their chaperones, one they'll never forget. They've had a great time, and so have we. We hope you have, too. This is Jack Whitaker from the Acropolis in Athens, Greece, saying so long for the CBS Sports Spectacular and the Flying High Circus of Florida State University.
On my right is the governor of Florida, Governor Paris Bryant, and on my left is the president of Florida State University, Dr. Gordon Blackwell. And, Governor, how do you enjoy this show?
Well, this is one of the best that I've ever seen. I've been coming to FSU circuses for a number of years now, and I really believe the girls and the boys are having more fun and doing a better job than I've ever seen them do.
Well, it's a mighty pretty campus you have here, too.
Isn't it gorgeous?
That's great.
Don't you love the rolling hills here that we have in this northern area of Florida?
You don't get them further south, do you?
No, that's right.
You better not say that too loud, though. You know you got constituents.
It levels out into beaches and lakes.
Oh, well said. And, Doctor, how does the curriculum you have here at Florida State, how does the circus fit into that?
Well, Bud, of course, our main objective is the intellectual development of the student. But we also feel that the physical fitness of the student is important. President Kennedy recently has spoken of the importance of physical fitness of our youth. We feel this is true, and so here at Florida State, we do require 2 years of physical education activity by all of our students. And so circus is one of some 20 activities that the student may select if he or she wants to. Seems to me that it is a very appropriate kind of physical fitness activity. It develops grace, poise, and we think it's a very fine program.
Well, it really is great. And Dr. Blackwell and Governor Bryant, thank you very much, gentlemen, because I think the second half is just about to start. Well, now, this is a slack wire, isn't it, Phil?
Yes, this is a little different than the typical tight wire we usually think of with circuses, and this swings sideways. Considerably more difficult than working a tight wire.
Who's the boy on this black wire?
Tommy Curtin from Bristol, Tennessee. It'd be hard enough just to stand there, much less do this.
Oh, look at what he's standing on, for Pete's sake.
About a 3/4 inch cable, bud.
Not as hard, because any mistake you make, you have to correct rapidly, don't you?
Yes, very rapidly. You have on the floor.
Now, did he learn this here?
No, Tommy's been juggling for several years. He just enjoys doing it. And he's really very, very good.
Oh, he's the fellow you said is president of the Juggling Association?
Yes, he's the president of National Jugglers.
We got a good president, I would say.
Yeah, the youngest one in their history. We're sort of proud of him.
How old is he?
It's a good question. He's a sophomore, I believe.
What, 18, 19, something like that?
Somewhere in there, yes.
Whoa, Tom. Oops. Well, it happens to the best of them. Well, he's going up again, that away.
Right back at him.
It doesn't seem to bother him too much. Is he going to try and get that one swinging? It's on the...
He was going to. I don't know what he does now.
What do you look at? It looks like he's concentrating on
Yes.
one object.
On most of these balancing acts, balancing craft and flat wire, all these things, you concentrate on one spot, and you keep your eyes fixed on it. This is the way you balance.
Tommy Curtin. Here's Dorothy Gilmore again, and who's the fellow hanging on that long pole?
That's Rod Parrish, majoring in chemical science, supporting a 24-foot pole which Dorothy will climb up and work on top, and spend some 4 feet in addition to this off the ground in the harness which Rod holds. At times he will turn loose and balance this freely. The rest of the time, when she's in a trick, he will hold it.
Oh, this is pretty dangerous to me.
Well, yeah. All the safety precautions which we can take, we always do, but we haven't had any accidents as yet. We're knocking on wood constantly. There's Rod. You see, he has the pole in a harness. Here goes Dorothy on her first trick. And now she's about 28 feet off the ground.
A lot of your girls seem to be the top ones, like Dorothy here seem to do a great deal, and Peg Hannah does a great deal too, don't they? And you.
Well, yes, but by the time you're a junior senior, you've worked out to what we consider the top acts in the show, and of course, you duplicate 2 or 3 of them. We have other people working these same acts, but of course we only shoot one at a time. That's Dorothy.
Tell me, has ever she gone over too far one way, and the fellow on the bottom has had to run like mad to keep her balance?
Well, yes, when they first start learning this, of course, Dorothy just sits there. Watch this, bud. He doesn't do anything like this until they're real sure he's got it.
There's Phil Williamson. There she goes on a unicycle. The clown in there is Tom Curtin, you know, the juggler whom we just saw. The other girl is Judy Allen. I've never been on one of those doggone things, but they tell me the most difficult part of a unicycle is actually getting on it. Got a tendency to go forward. There's Phil. Hey, out of the way, Phyllis. Now she's on top of Hubby Burgess. And, yeah. The kids here say they don't mind the falling. What they do mind is the unicycle. They cost $85 a piece for that one wheel. This is tough, though. If the Phyllis fell there, she'd have quite a ways to fall. Real cute girl. Whoop! Whoa! Now, as opposed to the slack wire, this looks like obviously a tight wire.
That's right. This is Eris Mixon riding the bicycle. With him is Flora Hampton.
Eris, the fellow took that slide for life, wasn't
That's
it?
right. Another rather daring trick right here. Eris and Flora.
Who's that, Alan Gadney, the other fellow up there?
Yes, that's Alan.
Phil, you're an expert at this.
I got it.
I presume, what is it? The pole is for balance. I know that. What exactly does it do, anyway?
Well, the pole makes it easier to balance. If you just use your body, you have to make large, quick movements, which throws you more off balance. By using the pole, just a small movement compensates for any loss of balance. If you're falling to the left, just a small movement to the right will counteract it.
See that other long pole right across our screen. What are those made out of? They're heavy, or?
Yes, they weigh about 50 pounds.
Do they really?
That's why just a small movement does the trick.
The way Alan handles that looks like it's made out of aluminum.
No, I'm afraid it isn't. It might be. If it is, it has weight in it. We used to have some steel ones. I don't know. These may be aluminum.
Here comes Aaron.
The next trick, all three of them will be involved in. Anytime you get three people doing anything, of course, the danger element becomes greater.
You can see those poles they have swing together on the balance.
Yes, pretty much. Front balance is on the bar, and the boy's balancing her, of course, on the wire.
Ooh, she shifts her weight.
A little tricky proposition. They check that in their knees as well. I think she trusts it.
She'd have to. That's very nice. Well, we have some of the sea stars here. You've already met Peg Hanna and Dorothy Gilmore on my right. So unfortunately, girls, we've always spoken to you like this. Some people like to talk to the guys. I would rather talk to you, but I better talk to them like a little bit. Well, here we are. These are all the flyers right over here. We have Bill Arnold, Mark Carroll, Ivan Williams, and Adrian Catarzi. Now, who are the catchers?
I'm a catcher.
You're a catcher?
I'm a catcher.
And Ivan's a catcher. And the rest of you fellows are what you call flyers?
Leapers.
Leapers? Got to be crazy to be a leaper or not?
Sure do.
You do, huh? Well, how do you feel about being a leaper?
I enjoy it.
You do? Now, whom do you work with?
I work with Bill.
You work with Bill. Does it make any difference which one you work with?
No, it just takes practice to get used to the catcher.
Now, could you switch over? Now, Ivan, could you just assume catch Mark now? Would it bother you at all?
We'd have to practice together a little bit, sir, before we could get the right timing on the trick. We have different timings for each catcher. Each catcher makes a different lock, and it would be advantageous for each one of us to work with one catcher each time.
How about this one over here? He's a wild man, isn't he?
Yes, sir. He really goes for the
Is that
trick.
true, Adrian?
Oh, I'm wild.
Well, we'll wait and see. Would you rather catch a guy or a gal?
Well, the girls, of course, weigh a little bit less.
Is that the only reason you'd rather catch a girl?
That's the only reason.
Uh-huh. Oh, come on. How can you say that with a straight face there, Bill? Listen, I think you're just about on here. So good luck to you, and thank you very much. And we'll watch all these flyers and catchers and gals after this message of importance.
Here's slugging first baseman Jim Gentile in the Baltimore Oriole batting cage, telling young Wendy Miller to keep his eye on the ball and his wrist firm. Now Wendy's up.
Keep swinging like that, Wendy, and you'll hit 300 anywhere.
Hey, you still using that greasy kid stuff on your hair? Huh? You ought to switch to Vitalis. Keeps your hair neat all day without grease. Tell you what, use that greasy cream, and I'll use Vitalis. That's it. Rub it in good. Now comb it. Now let's look at your comb. Look at the grease on it. But not Vitalis. And Vitalis never feels greasy. Come on, get that greasy kid stuff out of your hair. Then get with Vitalis. Hey, that's more like it. Now your hair looks great.
Vitalis with V7 fights embarrassing dandruff, prevents dryness. Keeps your hair neat all day without grease.
Well, here they come, the catchers, the flyers, the guys and the gals whom we were just talking to. The two girls are Peg Hanna and Dorothy Gilmore. There goes Dorothy. And who's catching Dorothy here?
Bill Arnold.
Oh, nicely done. Whoop.
Thank you. Thanks.
Peg Hanna. Is that Ivan Williams?
Yes, Ivan catching on the second one.
Mark Carroll.
How high he goes up and back. Well, let's see some of that. Very nice trick, bud.
Here's Adrian Catarzi, isn't it?
That's right. Watch him force up in front. Sends his radius way up high in that, clear up over the moon. Double second. Pirouette back.
Maybe it's a freshman, right?
That's right. He flew with the classes in Sarasota in high school. Ed Gilbert, who coaches the program, worked with Sophie and Mark at Sarasota. This isn't entirely new to them.
Dorothy Gilmore again.
1.5.
Don't forget these are all students up there. Are you a flyer?
Oh, well, I worked on it for a while. I never did a show or anything like that.
Now, here's the way it looks from the catcher's point of view. That's Bill Arnold on the left swinging towards us, and Ivan Williams on the right.
Ivan will be catching the next trick, the man on the right. The flip it, in which he'll turn inside out and over. You won't believe it, but he does it.
The timing has to be perfect, doesn't it?
Absolutely, right there. Watch this closely now. To learn is how to walk in the net.
Adrian going right up again. Here goes Mark. What happened coming back?
I'm not sure, Bud, because we couldn't see, but I imagine what happened was that Adrian, as he went up the ladder, got in the way of catching the return bar, and so they probably didn't have it to drop back to Mark. It looked like what happened, because he was going up the ladder. Yeah, probably so. Here's Mark talking, and that's all right. I can hear him saying it.
I know he turned around, and there it wasn't there.
This is a rather funny feeling, also. You turn around and there's nothing there, and nothing to do but go down.
I was up to test the timing as the reason I saw it the first time, or not?
Why do you understand?
There goes Adrian.
Right. Top. On the same trick he's just... There, and he caught. Dropping the bar just a tiny bit later, also a little late on the swing out front. It's hard to tell from here. But he caught the trick.
Must be fun watching these four up there when you know them so well as you do.
Oh, it really is. It makes it just so much more interesting for us because it's sort of vicarious through when they catch a trick. We're real happy for them. They've been working on one for a while. And Mark caught his first 2.5, which is just one turn short of the famous triple. This is tremendous.
Hey, there you go.
We all were just excited too. Wait a minute.
Those noises you hear, we have a microphone up there with them. That's, you hear that clanging and banging around, you hear the conversation.
It's a little high. Come and knock it down. Knock it down. Still a little bit. Now it's good. A little high over the back. Just a hair. It's okay. Good.
Might heard Adrian say, I'm sorry.
There you go. Hey! That's him right there.
They're applauding the catchers who are dropping that. Now we'll watch them go down. That was Ivan Williams dropping that. Here goes Dorothy. Now, Peg Hannah used to be a diver. Now, here come our two flying characters.
You're right.
Mark Carroll first. He's right at the top.
1, 2, 3.
Good toss-up of Adrian McCarthy. Terrific act. We'll have more of our circus show for you after this message of importance.
Make the move that makes the difference.
Problem? Not for the man of the house. Simply a matter of the right tool used correctly. There. But no matter how hard you try, it just doesn't hold water. Now's the time to make the move that makes the difference. Nothing like Schlitz when you want to get away from it all. Drink so easy, because Schlitz, only Schlitz, gives you that deep, cool kiss of the hops flavor. Makes you feel new again. Makes you feel like you again. Ah, what a difference. Now you see the problem. Simple when you know how.
Make the move that makes the difference.
You'll enjoy the difference.
Move up to Schlitz.
Pour it proudly.
Well, Phil, it was just a tremendous show.
Well, thank you, Bud. We enjoyed doing it, I'm sure, more than you can imagine. We really do appreciate you coming down. We had a great time working with you and just a fabulous time doing the show for you.
Let's say goodbye to everybody for us.
All right. So long, folks. We're glad you could be with us and hope you enjoyed it just half as much as we did.
Well said, Phil. See you soon, I hope.
Thank you, Bud.
From the campus of Florida State University, Tallahassee, Florida, the Summer Sports Spectacular has presented The Circus Goes to College, brought to you by Schlitz, the beer with a deep, cool, kiss of the hops flavor difference. Move up to Schlitz. This has been a CBS Television Network presentation produced by CBS Television Sports.
Parthenon. This word derives from the classical Greek word parthenos, which means the virgin. According to the mythology, the goddess worshipped in this temple in the classical period, Athene, Minerva in Latin, had never married. That is why this temple is known as the Temple of the Virgin.
Hi, I'm Jack Whitaker, speaking to you from one of the great spots of Western civilization, the Acropolis in Athens, Greece. This group of American students behind me listening to the guide are just concluding a tour of 4 European cities. But they're not ordinary college student tourists. In fact, sightseeing was not the main purpose of their trip. These are 28 members of the famous Florida State University Flying High Circus. We're just concluding a series of performances at the Olympic Stadium here in Athens. Right now, they're listening to all the history and legend about the Parthenon, where the democratic form of government was first practiced. A little while ago, they saw the Herod Atticus, a 2,000-year-old amphitheater right by the Acropolis.
All white marble. Roman, right? Here, baby. Roman, that would have been great to do it here, you know. What did you say to that?
I don't know, but I sure like to work here.
I'll tell you what.
All right, by gosh, we'll work. Come over here. All right, now you sit down right there. Come here, Howard. You have a right seat right there. All right, now. All right. All right, you ready? Okay. All right, ready? All right, up. 1, 2. All right, this part up.
3.5 weeks and 1,200 miles before, the circus tour began in Barcelona, Spain, where the performances were given in the Plaza de Catalunya, in the very center of the city. Most responsible for the circus acts and the logistics of the European tour, a former circus professional, Ad Gilbert.
Our primary objective is not providing entertainment for the public. It's providing a worthwhile activity for the students. The average student that gets interested in circus usually has no previous background of any sort. We do get a few from Sarasota High School that have had some circus experience in the high school, but about 99% of our candidates for the circus have never participated in any activity that's even remotely related.
Well, my freshman year I saw it on television, and I said, this is our university, and I said, well, next year I'm going to try and see what happens.
I was used to doing something in the afternoons after you got out of school, out of classes, and I was wandering around the afternoons lost, and I didn't have anything to do, and I was starting to put on weight, and I needed something to do. That was the main thing. I knew it would keep me in good shape.
In my senior year of high school, I watched it on television while they were in Fort Lauderdale, and that's when I decided I'd join. I was sitting there with my mother, and I said, Ma, I'm going to be in that circus when I go there. I wanted it, but I never thought I'd be able to, and here it is.
My cousin was in the circus about 15 years ago, and I just always wanted to be in it. I used to go and watch her, and she used to take me out and swing on the trapeze and everything. Since then, I've always wanted to be in the circus.
Actually, when I went to Florida State University, I didn't even know that they had a circus there. And I walked out there one day and saw the circus lot and saw all of the rigging on the lot. And I actually joined the circus to learn about the rigging.
Whatever their original reasons for joining the circus were, the young students were delighted at the opportunity to see Europe and show off their performing skills in a variety of difficult and sometimes dangerous acts.
The most dangerous act in our show, I believe, is one that most people would not recognize as being dangerous. That's the rolla-rolla. Ron Tracy is our understander on the rolla-rolla. He's a senior this year at Florida State. Our girl in the rolla-rolla act, June LaSalvia, is a freshman and has the natural physical characteristics which make her desirable for a partner in a rolla-rolla act, in that she weighs about 90 pounds.
Ron is a tremendous performer. He's steady, and I have a lot of confidence in him. And I think that's about the most important thing for a girl, to have confidence in her partner.
The most important part for the girl when working roller is to become sensitive to her partner down below, to his every movement. There's times when she must freeze and not move at all.
I have to be aware of his movements, and sometimes I could feel the roller being a little shaky. We talk a lot during the act. No matter how many times we do it, he still says, okay, turn around. And just hearing his voice sort of makes it a little better. He sounds very steady and very confident, and this brings out my confidence.
It's hard to say what trick the audience likes most. They seem to become entranced or just in a daze watching it to see, I don't know, whether we're going to fall or not.
In the program of ground and aerial acts was one seldom seen either in America or on the continent. Casting is similar to a flying trapeze act, except that the bodies and arms of the two men serve as trapezes, putting a considerable strain on their legs.
You need two boys who are really willing to suffer, and two rather small and extremely agile girls, because weight is an extreme factor in this act as far as handling these girls. And the boys jokingly call the cradle that they work in the torture rack because it is quite painful in the learning stages of the act.
Well, I can tell when I'm hanging upside down almost how the trick's going to be when I see her leave the bar. If I see that they're having some trouble, I can start looking out. And some people think it hurts to fall in the net. Well, it doesn't. It's a sort of a sweet relief to get to the net after an act.
First performance before a European audience is a hit, and Lynn Mitchell, Linda Phillips, Don Johnston, and Fred Hoover are gratified to find their act can cross the ocean successfully. The first leg of the four-country tour was a rough one for the Flying High Troupe. Immediately after arriving, they had to start setting up their extensive rigging. A 12-hour job they barely finished in time to go into the first of two back-to-back shows. It wasn't until the second day, after a much-needed and well-deserved sleep, that they had a chance to realize they were in Spain, in its second largest and most colorful city. One of the many sights they took in was the 200-foot column topped by the statue of Columbus in the port of Peace Plaza. A replica of the Santa Maria was moored at a nearby pier where a group of the Florida State girls met after a shopping tour. By happy coincidence, the United States Navy, on leave from the carrier Roosevelt, arrived on the scene and, undaunted by the fact they were outnumbered 3-1, offered to take the girls on a tour of Columbus's flagship.
A little bit smaller than Roosevelt.
Yeah, probably not quite as comfortable.
Would you like to go aboard?
Oh, yeah. I'd love to.
The last show in Barcelona was performed under circumstances as difficult as the first one. It started raining in the early part of the evening show and continued steadily during the entire program. In spite of the hazards to footing presented by the slick, wet marble, the performers went ahead in true show-must-go-on style. The last show in Spain was a turning point for the Florida State students. They had become adjusted to being in a foreign country and had learned that their earlier apprehensions about foreign audiences were unfounded. The response to their acts was enthusiastic and friendly, and the young performers looked forward with confidence to their next stop, the capital of the Riviera, Nice, France.
Most of the places we went to in Nice, they could speak English, so we really didn't have too much of a problem there.
I tried some French food. I don't even know what you call it, but it was pretty good.
I like the food for maybe 1 or 2 meals, but not all the time. I'd like a good old hamburger every now and then.
But when I go in a restaurant, I can't read the menu. I just take potluck.
The prices are maybe just a little bit higher.
I really enjoyed Nice. The reason being that it was a resort area and it was very similar to Miami Beach, and I'm from Miami, and so I guess I felt more at home at Nice than I did at any other place.
They don't wear bathing suits like that back in Nice very good. Well, I think the main cultural shock were the bikinis. The bathing suits were a lot skimpier than they are in America.
The Riviera should be that way. It just seems like, the way it should be.
While the bathing attire on the Pebble Beach were a little strange to them, the group lost little time changing into their American-type swimsuits to take advantage of Nice's main assets: the sun, the sky, and the warm Mediterranean Sea. This was their first day in the resort city, and in a few hours, they would have to go to the Parc de Verdun and join the rest of the troupe in setting up the rigging in the open theater for the first show. But right now, they could relax and enjoy the perfect weather and each other's company.
The circus is a lot of fun from the standpoint that you get to know these people real well, and they're all a lot of fun.
I'm around them so much that I'm afraid that, if we started dating or something, we got mad with each other, and we wouldn't be able to work anymore. It might ruin an act, a good act or something.
The boys aren't like other boys on campus. They're more like brothers. It's almost like a family.
You've got to work with somebody, and I can't think of anybody who'd be more fun to work with than girls.
I didn't think too much about the social aspect in the beginning, but once I was in, I realized how good it was, and that's where I met my fiancé.
It's fun to work out physically, and I enjoy performing in front of an audience, as well as just being with the kids in the show.
The girls are all athletic, and athletic girls tend to be beautiful.
Our quartet adagio act that we have working right now is the best I've ever had since I've taught amateur circus. And this is because these students have pride in their act. Lynn Mitchell has done an extraordinary job in our adagio act for only 1 year's work in the routine. She's small, she's agile, and she's got courage. She'll give it 110% all the time.
At first I was pretty scared, but I really have a lot of faith in my catchers, and I never really think about it.
Ray, I don't have to worry about anything. It's just Lynn. She takes a lot of flips, and she comes out wrong. Pretty bad. An audience does make it. You have to be rewarded. I mean, when you get good response from the audience, it really helps a lot. I think they kind of like the jump rope.
I think that's the one they enjoy the most, is the jump rope.
In an adagio quartet act, the boys who swing the girl must be tall and strong. John O'Kelly and Randy Buchanan are all of that. But according to John, mishaps do occur.
Sometimes we skim her rear end on the ground if we're not careful.
Performs at the top of the balanced perch pole. Her partner, Don Johnson, a criminology major from Cocoa Beach, Florida, also is in casting as well as the three-lane breakaway act. And a fine sense of balance are a must for the man at the bottom of the long perch pole. As a safety measure in this act, a wire is attached to a harness on the girl, run over the aerial frame and held by a spotter on the ground. Another hit with the French audience in the Theater Verdun was the Double Trapeze Act, a series of tricks performed by a boy and girl on a stationary trapeze. The performers, Janie Lane, a junior from Lake City, Florida, and Charlie Park, an industrial arts major from Savannah, Georgia. Hours of practice plus the necessary physical ability are very important in circus. But there is another aspect to performing that does not come easy to some of the students.
Well, the most difficult part of the show for me was learning to become a good showman and learning to sell the act and make it appeal to the audience.
Some acts that are appreciated in the United States are not appreciated here, and some that are just sort of mediocre there, they like here.
A lot of times you don't even know that the audiences are there, to tell you the truth.
I love performing in front of an audience. I guess I'm a ham at heart. I just eat up that applause, and I just feel like I'm on top of the world when I'm out there performing.
When you have an audience, a large audience, and they're really fired up, you can do a better act.
The finale of the Double Trapeze Act, the neck loop spin.
The secret of doing a neck loop spin is finding the proper place on your neck to put the loop. If you put it too low, you can pinch a blood vessel and faint while you're doing the spin. If you put it too high, you'll slip out. Consequently, the best place for me is to fold my ears down and put it right over my ears.
Next stop on the circus tour, Florence, Italy.
Let's see, Florence was the city with the widest streets, but even they were very small in certain sections.
Florence was very impressive, especially the works of art. I think Michelangelo was about everywhere in that city.
Well, the thing that most impressed me about Florence was the artwork and the sculptures and David.
Only wish that I could have spent a little more time there to see some of the things and meet some of the people.
With only one show scheduled in Italy, the troupe's stay in Florence was necessarily short. But in the 2 days they were there, the students were greatly impressed with the beautiful city and the nearby town of Fiesole, where they performed at a 2,000-year-old Roman amphitheater.
I think that the theater at Fiesole in Florence is probably the most enjoyable place that I've ever worked. The very thought of having worked or working in an arena that is that old is overwhelming. The Italian audience was very receptive to us.
The three-lane breakaway, a standard in circus repertoire, features Janie Lane, Don Johnston, and Fred Hoover.
This requires, it's an act that requires a great deal of teamwork, because we have three people that must coordinate their movements quite precisely for them to have any success at all. The girl, Janie Lane, has been with us for 3 years. She's well coordinated, and she's got a lot of courage, too. The first time I asked Janie to do this, she was scared to death, because there's nothing but the ground out there in front of you, and I don't blame her for being afraid.
Goodness, the first time they told me to jump off, I said, no, thank you. Matter of fact, I stood on a cradle and cried for about 5 minutes, and then finally jumped.
The finale on the program is the Flying Trapeze Act, and a gray-haired lady in the audience is especially interested because her nephew, Nucci Catarzi, is the star performer. Nucci, descended from generations of circus professionals, met his aunt for the first time on this trip. The all-important catcher in the act, Larry Camp, a biology major from Hialeah, locks to his trapeze as Brent Pichard starts the act off. beautiful young lady in the flying routine is Dorothy Gilmore of Pensacola. Working up to a try for a triple somersault, Nucci Catarzi does a fine 2.5. Richard's double with a twist breaks up the audience. Now it's time for Nucci's triple. He's one of the few flyers in the world to accomplish this nearly impossible trick. A very near miss. Since leaving Florida, Nucci has had trouble with the triple, although he did catch one in the last show at Nice. But there's no second show in Florence, and his relatives never did get to see the fabulous triple. The graceful drops to the net bring the show to a close. Tomorrow, the troupe will have to dismantle all the rigging, load it on trucks, and then by train, boat, and bus, make the long journey to Athens, where they'll wind up the tour. For the Florida State Circus Tour of Europe, after we pause for station identification.
Hubert Hunt.
Some of the performers out there are Fred Hoover, Don Johnson, Jenny Lane, perhaps. I'm going to have trouble with some of these names, I'm sure. After all, it's only been 25 years. I know that's Don Johnson up there, who later became a movie star on Miami Vice, of course. Changed a little bit over the years. Bones, Brent Bouchard, Larry Kent. That's Randy Buchanan, Lynn Mitchell, Marshall Gifford, John O'Kelly, and a glimpse of Coach Ad Gilbert. I think we're going to drop her here. Oh, there we dropped her. Somebody else takes a tumble. Looks like Catarzi's going for a triple. Like Charlie Parks there. Dorothy Gilmore. This is in Paris. There's Tom Garwood. That's the little bus, if you remember, that took us around all over the city of Paris. There's the Eiffel Tower in the background. Yeah, hot dog in it. Well, if you remember, we spent a day or two in Paris before we did our first performance, which I believe was in Barcelona. I believe this is in Spain on a side trip we took. There's some of the CBS film crew. Well, that looks like the Mediterranean, so we must be on the train going from Barcelona to Nice, France. I believe that's this scene here. Yeah, this is Nice. This is up on a park of some type overlooking the city. Some of us, you remember, rented motor scooters and drove to around Nice and Monte Carlo. Remember those rocky beaches? There's some of the crew there having fun in the sun. Whoa, looking good for those years. Okay, I think you all remember this. This is at Etruscan Theater up in the mountains outside of Florence, Italy. If you remember, we had a great deal of difficulty getting our stakes and so forth in the ground because we're hitting granite, stone. There's Catarzi. This is an actual performance here. I believe. Okay, you probably remember this trip on the boat that went from Italy to Greece. I think we spent about 12 or 14 hours on this boat. Some of us bought guitars over there and carried them all over Europe. I bought one and never did learn how to play it. And here we are in Athens. This is the Acropolis, I believe. There's Janie Lane, the Spider. There's Randy Buchanan.
Running. Good. I'm going to get a grab.
Louder. Does anybody have an idea as to how this thing ought to be conducted tomorrow? I'm still a little lost myself.
Boy, that's a great teaser if I've ever heard.
Are you trying to take notes on
it? We want to have some ideas as to what everybody thinks ought to be done. Do you have any?
Boy, this is so exciting.
We got quiet when he turned the camera on.
Yeah, really.
The idea of a roast has been eliminated or
Yeah, Coach Gilbert forgive me the weird name that I got.
You know where you got that name? Bones, perhaps? Bones? The original Bones? You really remember? No. There was a real person. Yeah, a real person. In the ring, he was a clown on a flying trapeze. He really was.
And he looked like you, and he was long.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Talk about old. Hey, ha! Come over here.
planning committee.
Let's see.
FSU reunion. This is March 10th, 1989.
No.
21st reunion of the year.
Her name. I'm just saying a lot of you say what you.
Well-organized group as usual.
How you doing? How are you? Good to see you. Hey, Richard. Hey, welcome to Callaway Gardens. Good to see you. Who's over there? Have you seen the chapel? Yes. What about the garden? Huh? Have you seen the vegetable garden? Have you seen the vegetable garden? Hey, I heard you caught a triple somersault. Not when you were that there. No one yet has missed an opportunity. Nice guy. Nice jab that in. Yeah, right. I love that. Hell, I don't remember your hair being that white. I know. Every year it gets worse. Hello, Duck. All right. You gave me the same crap with white hair. Look at that. Yeah. 2 white hairs tonight. White hair better than no hair. And no hair over there. God almighty. Well, we were just talking about you. Well, I'm here. Well, we were talking about you. That's it. You're here. It's over. Turn that thing off, Joe.
Well, so much for the planning committee.
Well, we're in his love life. You know, the grabbing of all the sperm shit, right? Okay. So we're all getting ready to go to bed. This guy has puts on this robe with like BR or BP on it, right? And he walks to the little narrow hallway. Funky seconds. He walks to the little narrow hallway and he says, "Is everyone ready to go to sleep?" And everyone, you know, what is it? Shimmies up the wall. So he puts his feet up against one wall and his back, and he shimmies up and he's like suspended between the 2 walls. And he says, "Good night, gentlemen," and clicks the light off. Am I the only one who remembers that? Whatever summer it was. Oh. Well, I said we have selective memory.
Remember the red humper? Oh, yes, we were talking about the humper.
What about the Cobra? You own the Cobra. You still do. And your children can thank you for it.
Cobra is venomless now.
Yeah, for years. The boy's been shot for years.
Who was that guy that used to visit you from Atlanta? Cherry Tuggle. Hodo. That took us to those wonderful restaurants in Atlanta. There was like, you were the creme de la creme if you ate there.
How about the minister? The guys who come around, hang around the guys.
The minister? Oh, taking pictures of people in jocks. Yeah, okay. I remember him, yeah.
Dave will do it all.
No, I won't say anything.
Guitar's a hefty, yeah.
That was my engaging smile.
Looks good. A little shiny on top there. Where are all those hands? I didn't catch it.
Slender, sandy-haired young man with engaging smile. Somebody should even grin.
You know what? This group still needs a coach.
Yeah.
You know that? Really. There ain't no direction here. It's a mess. It's an accident going someplace to happen.
Hey, Guitars, in no sense changing things for 25 years.
Get up and chant. Did you bring this stuff?
I got a lot of stuff.
All right, well, tomorrow night at Charlene Oward's place, we will look at this stuff. I know, but she was called Oward in Europe. Remember? We'll look at what? That's
am I getting in your way?
Oward.
So what are you going to
America with the straight Smith gold.
So what are you going to do?
We don't have any women.
Wow, that's a risk.
Hey, I don't know what to say.
The Hides have always been in second place anyway.
Oh, Mildred said she had something she wanted to say.
Chauvinism lives.
And Bobby Lewis' wife was going to say something I didn't say.
We might not.
We need somebody to do Eddie Cummings.
Maybe do it all right there.
I know.
We're going to let her speak first.
Hey, listen, I got this. We laughed so hard today coming down here, man. Again, we were thinking about some of the things that night. You know, I came all the things they wrote around. Let me tell you, the greatest thing. You know what?
greatest act that guy has, that play that. I love it.
Get down there with him.
I was your assistant.
Get up there with him.
Go to that thing.
Ivan.
I'm sorry.
Get over there.
Oh, okay. I followed you around, being your assistant, and I was going to play that. Remember that? And there's the
Let's get one of Junior.
Crash. How you doing? Hey, Dave Brown. How you doing? I'm sorry. Good to see you. How you doing? Just kidding? Good. Yeah. How you doing? You just kidding? We're checking in right now. Come on down when you get through. We're going to be here a while longer. You see Gilbert? Yes, he's here. But he's in bed, I think. But he's here. Everybody's here. The whole crew's here. All of you. I'm going to sit down. Come on back down. He's in somewhere. He was here. No, he lives in Susie. He works for them, but his senior year, actually his senior year. He brought this thing. Yeah, but he'd already graduated.
I know.
He's come over there. Already?
I needed more.
Ain't no damn more food around here.
Finally grew a beard.
Hey, Smith, say hello.
You can go home now.
John O'Kelly. How you doing? Good to see you.
You got to take your time, meet everybody here, partner.
Yeah.
Well, I brought my clubs, you know.
You brought your clubs?
Are you really? How about a line? Yeah. Get me up in the front. You remember my real name?
He quit taking pictures of everybody.
Oh, here. Well, go ahead. Feel free.
What's a Pan Am Club? It's a young group. Not so young. Where are you now? He didn't give it up. Chipley? No. They say that the young ones are like to be in here forever. Long walk. Yeah, long walk. You believe I did that? Then they got on 238. I went to the right. I know that. Because we flew Air Chance. The Electra.
Oh, the big one.
What's your brother? Air Chance.
Air Chance was out of New York.
Yeah, they had water in cans. Remember that?
Yeah.
Look at that. Where is it? Where's Mark?
Mark's dead.
No, I want to take that. Hey, you know, a little laugh. I have a little laugh. I have it from last night. No, you can't. You know who gave me that name? Phone's over there. We're called the Coach Pencil. They just sort of on their little push yard. That's one secret right there. Is that it? One toad. Yeah, but this was when I was falling over. I was on my way over.
Square.
I was on my way. That's Sooty Ford, Blade, Camp.
Gene, quit.
Here's another deal.
Flip him. Come on, Bone.
This is the chorus. What is this? Yeah, I brought 7, so we can go ahead. Did you get 7? General.
Just don't knock it.
Oh, look at this. This is Europe. This is a Miss Triple for the 85th time. I can tell you. Trust me, I know.
I know in that.
Bones doing still?
Son of a bitch.
You got to clear. Well, no one else is wearing it. Watch out, guys. Into his hand. That awful. Okay. That was so bad. That was bad. Oh, look, this is George in a little tin. Look at him. Hey, George. This is George with somebody who looks like Bill. Wait, that's not the picture. Let's get a little personal. I like that. That's good. Bones, thanks. What has he got? Hold me a little closer.
Don't worry. And it's John!
Hey, Charlene, how are you?
Well, I don't even get to hug you.
Yeah, if you come over here, you can. Hold the camera.
I got the camera. Running?
Yeah, running. Good.
Good.
33 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, you have this designer haircut.
Just runs by itself.
How long have I had it? Designer haircut.
Well, O.R., how are you doing?
Just did.
I was called you today, but I didn't know your husband's name was
I'm always the camera.
Well, there are only two Capellini, so you can't.
Well, I didn't know, but there was like Terry Capellini and Edna and Gladys or something.
No, Edgar.
Edgar and Gladys. As far as you walk over and sit on it, because it'll be nice and warm. He just pick up the hammer. He just sat on the damn boat. But you had one in hand. Right. His were 20 pounds. I guess. Are you saying that was it closer than being in a fraternity? Of course it was. All right. And the reason it was is because it was like a combination of a football team, very physical with very, very close camaraderie with girls.
There's a success.
You wrap those three together, and
There's something I think there's a train that would fit through a lot of our lives. It's similar. It's a certain confidence and a certain inner feeling of knowing what you can do and what you can't do that comes from performing and having been successful in a high-risk activity. Now, it's still not a very controlled circumstance, but it's still, when you have success in a high-risk activity, this has been proven in a lot of other areas. That's why only you've been seeing executive training with the rope course. There's something that we all share, and we know that each one is going through. And you risk your lives with one another. In many ways that we don't even know. Because I can remember this guy and I talking long hours about how most people don't know what's at the top of the bowl.
So much been thrown out.
But everybody, they're just trusting that the three guys who put it all together did it right.
I know I did.
Yeah. But you don't know what's up there. 47 cable clamps in the ground up to 3 feet. But it
Why? I learned a lesson loaded I like
Just like the being with everybody.
You know, Bones, I like putting the last yeah, but load the truck. There's a lot of symbolism here we're talking about. Okay? And I'm not talking about, putting things in a hole and all that. I'm talking about it's the end of a show, and you know you've done it okay, and now it's time to put it away for another day, so to speak. And the loading of the truck is like
1989, Circus Weekend, Florida State University. It's the 25th reunion of the circus group that went to Europe in 1964. Well, this is a site where the circus lot used to be. There's educational buildings in here now. This is from a view looking to the east. If I pan around to the right, we're going to pick up the tele-gymnasium back beyond this parking lot. And beyond that gymnasium now is where the new circus lot is located. Charlie Park.
Robert, you have to I'm sure. About John O'Kelly's size, weighs about 30 pounds.
Here's some of the crew from the circus 25 or so years ago. George, let's get you on tape there, bud.
But John, all you're doing is filming people?
Yeah.
If I get close enough, you won't be able to get me, so I have to pull back. I know, I've got a camera too. Oh, right. He missed his trick, but he stopped.
Looks about like it did 25 years ago, George.
No, I didn't miss the trick 25 years ago. I'm not going to go through my whole act for you, John.
Are you going to do it during the show today? Or sometime?
No. They're not the little old-timers. They don't have an old-timer show.
Well, get Bones on. I want to get you and Bones together on that thing.
Okay, turn to somebody.
No,
you weren't as big as you were. No, he's about this right.
I'm the same. That's George Miller, Larry Camp, Don Johnson, Randy Buchanan, Coach Gilbert.
Well, I wrote
that's Randy's daughter. These guys haven't seen each other in 25 years.
No, we don't want to get trouble. I was and so, you know, like that's a tough way to go, though. Well, yeah, that's the only way to go. It works. After my going out, just keep it up. Because I know if I eat what I want to eat, I'll be like nature. That's unbelievable. I walked in there last night. I would have never. Coach Gilbert, this is my dog. No, I'm a little bit busy. Bones bypass. Oh, I've been there. Done. Bicycle, flip pole, triple. I can't break away. I can't do what you're doing. All those sort of things. Come on, Ken, get in the picture. Randy, how are you doing? Doing good. Yeah, I'm going out there with you. I mean, if you don't get it, still. I'm Don Johnson. What do you have, Bob? Hi. This is John. You don't know me. I'm going to Yeah.
Randy taught me how to make peanut butter and fried bologna.
Right.
God. Yeah. And you're still living. Bologna and peanut butter and grape jelly or something.
Absolutely.
Fry it up on the skillet.
That's what it lives on.
Bones, let me get you and Squint on the clubs there. Do a little. George. Let me get you guys together on those clubs.
Close?
Clubs.
Oh, clubs.
Clubs.
Those guys. Juggling.
All right, we're ready. Here's Bones and Squint. Not too bad. Come on. All right. All right. All right, there's Mildred Gilbert Steffenfield and Bones Brown. All right. Thanks for organizing this, Mildred. I think you were the main person behind it, weren't you?
Well, Larry Campbell was the
Bones, you're going to look so pretty on camera, you never want to... the Dickie Brinson. Bones, I've got you in everything.
Yes, every time I play, Bones. That old Circus play. Emily Tyler. Yeah, I know both.
Well, Emily's in Atlanta.
They said after the, they said they want to do it after the dinner. When do you want to do it, after or before?
Sue called. Sue, where are you? She inside the tent. Sue, thanks for everything you've done. You've done a great job for us this year. And now I'm going to turn the program over to Mr. Lynn Dawson. Thank you, Dick.